Happy President's Day. And on this President's Day, 2025, as you will note, there are a number of protests because someone is trying to make themselves king of America when we only have presidents. As some of you are aware, many of you are aware, the Revolutionary War was to get rid of a king and make sure we never had another monarch. On this day, however, in celebration of Black History Month, I am celebrating the Black presidents in American history, one of which has sparked a lot of debate over the years because, as you know, over time, whenever someone Black had a role of importance, uh, over time, the paintings would become whiter and whiter and whiter. Now, the debate has been raging for years because the first Black president was a man named John Hanson. It is stated that he was indeed a Black man. He was president of the First Continental Congress. And simultaneously, his position was political, while George Washington's position was military. And he was not elected president of the First Continental Congress of this country. This was before there were elections, so he was voted by the members of both Congresses at that time. Now, whether or not he was Black, I believe he was. If you look on the, I'll put it on my community wall, there's a picture of the members of that Continental Congress, and seated in the front row was a visibly Black man. However, some people were saying, well, if there was a Black man there, he must have been a slave. Slaves were not allowed to sit in the front row of the Continental Congress, and they were not wearing those wigs that they wore back then. But John Hanson, according to the information that I've been able to locate, was, the first Black president, not elected by the nation, but appointed after the Articles of Confederation were signed, which officially made him the first Black president. So the debate rages on because a lot of people don't want him to have been Black. But if you look at the picture on the thumbnail and the avatar, that is the photograph of John Hanson. You decide. And look at the photograph of our next Black president, Barack Obama. Now, as I've said before, 100 years from now, they're going to say President Obama was white, unless we're vigilant, or our descendants are vigilant and saying, no, he was Black because he was lighter skinned. That's what they're going to say. But I think that on this day, I choose to celebrate the two Black presidents, the first one and then Barack Obama. As I said, there is a difference between the presidency because Hanson came about as president before there were even nationwide elections. There was only a Congress. They had just broken away from England, and they signed their Articles of Confederacy, and he was appointed as president. Case closed. He was a Black man, a light-skinned Black man, and if you go look at images on Google, He gets whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter, more and more white as time progresses. But if we know who he is, then we can continue to share that information. So I want to do a huge shout out to our presidents, and John Hanson is one of them, and Barack Obama is whom I choose to celebrate on President's Day. Now, when I was a kid, on the holidays, on the president's birthdays, we'd get the actual day off from school. We get a holiday on on George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. On their actual birthday, we would get a holiday. Then somebody got the bright idea to just lump them all together so they wouldn't have to pay all those holiday times off. And now it's on the Monday in February. Okay. But I want to make certain that as we celebrate President's Day, we should appreciate the office of the presidency and not allow anyone to turn it into a dictatorship or a monarchy. And I would say that the things that were accomplished by John Hanson, you can look it up. Basically, he was in charge of the political aspect going forward of the country. It should also be noted that Barack Obama had a lot of difficulty during his presidency simply because he was black. And he was very naive to the point where he thought he was going to be joining everyone together, but he met with more resistance because he was black. We know that, and they know that. So I celebrate their presidency, one which they're trying to erase from history, and two, the accomplishments of Barack Obama. You have to remember that when he took office, the economy had already tanked prior to him even being elected. He had to spend 4 years getting the economy back together, and he did. And in his second term, it started coming more into fruition. And by the time Trump got elected, it was full-fledged, and everyone wanted to give Trump credit for that. No, that was the result of all of the hard work of Barack Obama. And a lot of people don't know how that cycle works. But if you're suffering, it's because of what happened prior, the prior administration. If you're doing good, it's because of the prior administration. Now, we're doing bad now simply because someone is slashing our government apart and creating a hysteria regarding food prices and inflation, getting rid of the nuclear. How are we going to have confidence in a government that's doing that? So quite naturally, everyone's holding on to money and they're not buying. Plus with the protest, they're not buying. So that's going to mess up the economy. And that's in real time. And that's the reason for it. But I would love for everyone to just celebrate the presidency of Barack Obama and the presidency of John Hanson. Happy President's Day.